Ethan Reynolds adjusted the sleeves of his faded hoodie as he stepped out of his car. The last time he had been in this shopping plaza, he had arrived in a luxury sedan, greeted by managers eager to impress him. Today, no one would know his name. For years, he had built Reynolds Retail from the ground up, a chain of high-end stores praised for customer service and quality. But lately, something felt off. Complaints had been piling up: rude employees, neglected customers, managers who didn't care. At first, Ethan thought it was just exaggeration. His executives assured him the reports were rare, but his gut told him otherwise. So, he decided to see it himself. Dressed in cheap jeans and scuffed sneakers, he looked nothing like the billionaire CEO he was. Just another regular guy walking into his own store. The moment he entered, he felt it. No warm greetings, no welcoming smiles, just a cold indifference. The cashier glanced at him and immediately looked away, uninterested. Ethan browsed the aisles, watching. Shelves were messy, staff looked bored, and customers wandered around confused, searching for help. But the employees? They were too busy talking to each other to notice. His stomach tightened. How had it come to this? Then, a woman's voice broke his thoughts. "Excuse me, can someone help me?" Ethan turned, watching as a customer, a woman in her 60s, stood near the counter, struggling to lift a heavy box. The employees? They ignored her. Ethan's fists clenched. This was his store, and this was unacceptable. Ethan watched in disbelief as the older woman struggled with the heavy box. Her hands trembled, her face strained. Yet no employee even glanced in her direction. She tried again. "Excuse me, can someone help?" Her voice wavered, desperate but polite. One of the employees, a young man in his early 20s, leaned against the counter, scrolling through his phone. Without looking up, he sighed. "Just leave it there. Someone will deal with it later." Ethan's blood boiled. His entire company had been built on service, on making customers feel valued. But here they were treated like an afterthought. He stepped forward. "Let me help you with that." His voice was calm, but inside, he was fuming. The woman smiled gratefully. "Oh, thank you, young man. I didn't want to be a bother." Ethan lifted the box effortlessly and placed it in her cart. It wasn't hard. It wasn't complicated. So why had no one else done it? As she walked away, he turned to the employee still glued to his phone. "Is that how you treat customers here?" The young man finally looked up, annoyed. "Dude, I don't make the rules. I just work here." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And your manager?" The employee chuckled, shaking his head. "Good luck with that. He's worse than us." Ethan felt something snap inside him. If this was how his employees talked about their own boss, the problem was bigger than he thought. He needed to find this manager. And fast. Ethan marched toward the back of the store, scanning the aisles for any sign of management. If the employees were this careless, what kind of leader allowed it? Near the customer service desk, he spotted him. A man in his mid-40s, stocky, wearing an expensive watch and a suit that was slightly too tight. He leaned against the counter, talking to another employee, laughing loudly while a frustrated customer stood nearby, waiting to be helped. Ethan stepped closer, listening. "I don't care what they say," the manager scoffed. "These people come in expecting us to wait on them like royalty. It's a store, not a five-star hotel." The employee beside him laughed. Neither of them noticed the customer shifting uncomfortably, clutching a return receipt. Ethan clenched his fists. This was beyond laziness. It was pure disrespect. He took a deep breath and approached. "Excuse me, are you the manager?" The man barely glanced at him. Depends. What do you need? Ethan gestured toward the ignored customer. This woman has been waiting for help. The manager sighed dramatically and turned to the customer. Yeah, what's the issue? The woman hesitated, looking embarrassed. I just need to return this. It's defective. The manager snatched the box from her hands, barely inspecting it. No refunds after 30 days. Policy. Ethan felt his stomach twist. This was his store, his brand, and this man was tearing it apart. He wasn't just going to stand there. It was time to push back. Ethan watched as the manager tossed the product back onto the counter, barely looking at the woman. His tone was dismissive, his expression bored. Next customer. The woman's face fell. But it's defective. I just need an exchange. The manager rolled his eyes. And I just told you the policy. Ethan stepped forward, his voice sharp. You didn't even check the receipt. The manager finally looked at him, sizing him up. He smirked. And who are you? Exactly? Some store policy expert. Ethan crossed his arms. Just a customer. A paying one. The manager snorted. Listen, buddy, I don't have time to babysit people who don't read return policies. If you have a problem, take it up with corporate. Ethan's jaw tightened. Corporate? The manager chuckled. Yeah, you think they care? As long as we meet our sales targets, we can do whatever we want. The words hit Ethan like a punch. This wasn't just a bad employee, it was a toxic culture. And worse, it was happening under his own company's name. The customer, looking defeated, picked up her product and turned to leave. Ethan exhaled sharply. I'll take care of this for you, ma'am. The manager laughed. And what? You'll give her a refund yourself? Ethan's next words made the entire store go silent. I won't just give her a refund. I'll be giving you a termination letter too. The manager's smirk disappeared instantly. The employees around them froze. The store fell into stunned silence. Employees stopped what they were doing. Customers turned their heads, sensing something big was happening. The arrogant manager's smirk had completely vanished. His eyes darted across Ethan's face, confusion creeping in. What the hell are you talking about? Ethan slowly pulled out his wallet. He removed a sleek black business card and placed it on the counter. The gold lettering gleamed under the store lights. Ethan Reynolds, CEO, Reynolds Retail. The color drained from the manager's face. His mouth opened, then shut. His arrogant posture sagged into panic. The employees around them murmured in shock. Some of them looked at Ethan with wide eyes, recognizing his name for the first time. They hadn't been ignoring just any customer. They had been ignoring the man who owned the entire company. The manager's hands trembled slightly. Wait, this is a joke, right? Ethan's expression remained cold. Do I look like I'm joking? The manager swallowed hard. For the first time, he looked nervous. Ethan turned to the employees. Is this how things are run here? Is this what you've been told is acceptable customer service? A young cashier, barely out of her teens, hesitated before shaking her head. We just do what we're told. Ethan exhaled sharply. It wasn't just the manager. This entire store had been poisoned by a culture of apathy, and it was time to clean house. The air in the store had shifted. The confidence once radiating from the manager was gone, replaced by quiet panic. The employees stood still, afraid to speak. Ethan turned to them, his voice calm but firm. How long has this been going on? A young worker, a girl no older than 20, glanced nervously at the manager before speaking. It's always been like this. If we complain, we get fewer shifts. Ethan's stomach tightened. He turned to another employee, a man in his 30s. Is this true? The man hesitated before nodding. You don't question anything here. If you do, you get written up. Too many write-ups and you're fired. Ethan felt his blood run cold. This wasn't just bad management. This was fear. The manager finally spoke, his voice defensive. Listen, we hit our targets. We move product. That's what corporate wants, right? Ethan stared him down. Corporate? He let out a dry chuckle. I am corporate. The manager shrunk back slightly. Ethan scanned the room. And you all thought this was normal? No one answered. Ethan inhaled sharply, his heart pounding. How had he let this happen? How had his company become this? He turned back to the manager, his tone now ice cold. Give me one good reason why you should still have a job. The manager stammered. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Ethan had seen enough. The manager's face was pale, his confidence shattered. He glanced around, looking for support, but none of the employees would meet his eyes. They had seen what kind of leader he truly was. Ethan took a deep breath, keeping his voice steady. You've built this store on intimidation, on fear. You ignored customers, disrespected employees, and twisted my company's values into something unrecognizable. The manager finally snapped. Oh, come on. We're making profits. You think people really care about customer service anymore? Ethan's jaw clenched. Yes, and I do too. He gestured to the employees. And judging by their faces, they care too. They've been forced into silence, treated like disposable workers. That ends today. The manager let out a dry laugh, but it was weaker now. You can't just... Ethan cut him off. I can, and I am. He turned to the employees. You all deserve better than this. You deserve respect, fair treatment, and a store that values people over numbers. A nervous voice spoke up. But what happens now? Ethan glanced at the manager, then back at them. First, he's out. The employees exchanged looks. A few of them, hesitant at first, began to smile. Ethan stepped closer to the manager, his voice calm but final. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. The manager froze, stunned into silence. The fear he had used against others? Now it was his turn to feel it. The store remained silent as the manager stood frozen, his confidence shattered. For the first time, he had no power. Ethan turned to an employee nearby. Call security. The manager finally snapped. Wait, you can't seriously be firing me over this. Ethan's gaze didn't waver. I trusted people like you to uphold my company's values. Instead, you ran this place like a dictatorship. You don't belong here. 2 security guards arrived, their expressions unreadable. They had seen this before. Bad managers thinking they were untouchable. The manager opened his mouth to argue again, but no words came out. He knew it was over. As the security guards led him toward the exit, a slow clap broke the silence. Then another. Within seconds, the entire store erupted into applause. Ethan felt the tension lift. He turned to the employees, some still cautious, others hopeful. They weren't sure what would happen next. A young worker, a cashier who had been silent all along, spoke up. So, does this mean things will actually change? Ethan met her gaze, his voice firm. Yes. Starting now. The employees exchanged looks, hesitant, but for the first time, believing it might be true. Ethan knew this was just the beginning. Fixing one store wasn't enough. He had to fix everything, and that meant going even deeper. The applause faded, but the energy in the store remained. Something had changed. Not just the removal of a toxic leader, but the beginning of a new culture. Ethan looked around at his employees. Some still seemed unsure, afraid this was temporary. He couldn't let that happen. He stepped forward, his voice steady. From now on, this store, and every store in my company, will be run differently. No more fear. No more intimidation. No more managers who think power is more important than respect. The employees exchanged glances, processing his words. Ethan continued, I built Reynolds Retail because I believed in service, in treating customers like they mattered. But that means treating you like you matter too. A worker, a woman in her 40s, spoke up. And if another manager like him takes over, what happens then? Ethan's jaw tightened. That won't happen again. There will be an open-door policy. Anyone, at any time, can report mistreatment directly to me or my team. And we'll act. For the first time, real hope sparked in the employee's eyes. A cashier, smiling for the first time that day, stepped forward. So, does this mean we finally get some respect around here? Ethan nodded. Not just respect. You'll get the workplace you deserve. The store erupted into cheers. As Ethan turned toward the door, he took one last look at the business he had built, and the business he was about to rebuild. This time, the right way.